Bangalore and started in 2007 at IBM. Stayed in IBM for a good 13 years. Yeah, that can be slightly difficult to believe. Moved to Visa, built a stellar team over there amidst lockdown, and currently is the senior director of engineering at Couchbase. How are you, Santosh? How does it feel to be here?
I'm good. Thank you for inviting me to the session and look forward to having a meaningful conversation with you.
Okay, Santosh. Santosh, so we'll just go back to the drawing board and we'll start from day one. I would want to ask you, how was your childhood? And if you could just give me some of your fondest memories. Were you a studious guy or a notorious person? So, yeah, the
Yeah,
stage is
sure.
yours.
Yeah. So I'm a old-time Bangalorean, right? Born and
Yeah,
raised here,
yeah,
did my schooling here, did my engineering here, right? And I have very fond
yeah,
memories of Bangalore. I've seen a totally different Bangalore, right? A Bangalore which was much more
yeah,
quieter, colder, less traffic, right? Of course,
yeah,
much more greener. So I had a lot of fond memories of doing fun things in Bangalore, right? During my school days, we would even like take our cycles and go around town. Like I was big time into sports. I used to play
okay,
badminton, I used to play volleyball at school, and there used to be these zonal events or district events, and we would just cycle our way to the place, right? And it was so easy. But of course, with opportunities and the growth of the city, things change, right?
yeah,
But yeah, I have a lot of fond memories. We used to have these food joints, right? I don't know if anybody on who's listening in would even know, right? There are ice cream parlors like Mantap Ice Cream Parlor, or there was Janta Hotel in Malleshwaram, which is very popular. So I used to harass my dad to take me there
yeah.
to eat stuff. So a lot of fond memories with the city. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Santosh, now I just give you an insight into my career. I'm also an engineer. Now, what drove me into engineering was a lot of my cousins being into engineering. Back then, I absolutely had no option but to follow the trend.
Yeah.
And now I throw the same question to you. What inspired you to pursue a career in computer science, right? How did, how was the influence of everyone around you? And yeah, take it ahead.
Sure. Yeah. So I would say there were a couple of things which kind of drove me more towards computer science engineering in specific, right?
Okay.
So back in school, I was pretty good at maths. I was horrible at biology, right? So the back in early 2000s,
Yeah,
unlike today, right? There were not too many options where you could pick and choose your subjects, right? Either you
yeah,
would pick the science stream or the commerce stream, and if you pick the
yeah,
science stream, you would either pick biology or computer science, right?
yes,
So
yes,
it was a clear choice for me in that sense that I didn't want to do biology.
got
And
it,
second thing was when I was still in school, my sister started doing her computer science undergraduate from Bangalore, right? So
got
I
it.
kind of got a sense of um, what happens in an undergraduate computer science course, right?
Got
And
it.
I thought that would be something that would interest me, right? So that's where I picked computer science as my subject in my 11th standard, which is basically what we call as PUC here. And once I started that, I had a wonderful computer science teacher in my 11th and 12th, and she really kind of, I would say, increased my interest in computer science further, right? And
Okay,
when I was about to pick my graduation choice, I think it was very clear that this is something I wanted to do.
okay. How was your engineering after completing your school time? How insightful did you feel your engineering was, or what addition to your tech knowledge
Mhm.
happened in the engineering premises, right?
So in BMS, one of the reasons I picked BMS was I think
Yeah.
it is one of those colleges which kind of gives you a holistic learning, right? A big part of
Okay.
computer science, I believe, even in those days, even today, and more applicable today, is you can learn it yourself, right? You really don't need somebody to teach you computer science. So there is enough material on the web, there are enough books, and
Yeah.
a lot of it is can be learned on your own, right? But I think what I learned in BMS more was communication skills, right? How do you build a
Okay.
project, right? How do you work with a team to create a project? So these things were really the things which I would take from my undergraduate engineering rather than just the core computer science concepts I learned. Of course, there were exceptional teachers there who taught us well, right? There are fabulous teachers for data structures, for operating systems, networks, and things like that. But I
Yeah.
think the more interesting part for me was how to collaborate with a group of people and build projects, right? So that was more interesting for me.
Yeah. In a lot of cases, right? College majorly acts as a confidence booster when it comes to students,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Perfect, perfect. And that can clearly be reflected right after your college. You entered IBM, right?
Yeah.
Now let's discuss your IBM journey. 13 long years at IBM. I still am amazed. But what kept you so motivated and stuck to the company? And specifically, once you're done telling this, I would want you to leave a message for our generation with this. Uh,
Sure.
what should folks like us learn? Yeah,
Yeah. So you're not the first person asking me this. I get
yeah,
asked this question very often. Uh,
yeah,
so the answer is going to be pretty long, right?
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. That's it.
so IBM in some sense
Yeah.
is a pretty unique company, right?
Okay.
If you see the breadth of technologies that are there in IBM, I would say Microsoft is probably the only company in the world which can kind of match that, right? And particularly in those days when I started, there were very few companies who did core system engineering work out of India. So I think it was a big plus point for me to start with IBM, where I got a chance to work on core database internals for products like DB2, which many people may not know, runs lot of mission critical systems across the world, right? If you talk about things like stock exchanges, right? Or you talk about things like
Hmm.
your grids or railways, right? A lot of these systems used to run on
Yeah.
IBM databases. And working on a technology like that out of India was a big thing, right? And the second thing which kind of made me stay with IBM for that long was even though I worked at IBM on databases, IBM itself had three different databases within its
Yeah.
portfolio, right? And even though I worked at 13 years at IBM for 13 years, it was not like I was doing the same thing. Uh,
Yeah.
for every year, I used to do a different thing, right? I used to move across a different database, or I used to move to a different component. So it was not like I was learning new things. The learning curve was steep every year during those
Okay.
13 years, right?
Okay.
Um, and IBM had some wonderful leaders and managers who kind of made sure that you can stay on a technical path, you can continue to grow your career technically, right, doing very deep technical work um, out of India, which was at least in I would say prior to 2015 was pretty unique in that sense. Now there are a lot of companies who are doing that sort of work in India, right? But during that time it was not common. So it made sense for me to stick to IBM and continue to build my deep expertise in that area
Yeah.
for a long period of time, right?
Understood. Understood. So majorly, if you summarize it, it was about a lot of work in one place rather than just sticking to one particular task, and that's what
Exactly.
probably didn't allow you to be monotonous and
Yeah.
kind of hiked your learning to
Mhm.
probably 10x or 100x, right? And
Yeah.
that's what we all long for, right? We all are in a system for learning, right? Until unless learnings happen,
Yeah.
it really doesn't matter. And obviously, a feeling of home once you're
Mhm.
associated with something for so long. And that's
Correct.
my next question, that how difficult was it for you to move from IBM? Because
Yeah.
we kind of humans as have a tendency of finding home in people or in places, right? And once you're sticking around for like such a good time, you probably feel that soft corner, right? How
Yeah.
difficult was it for you to move? Right?
Yeah, definitely. It was a very challenging decision.
Yeah.
right? So one is the technology, the learning, and those aspects, right? The other aspect
Yeah.
is the people you work with. For example,
Yeah.
at IBM, most of the colleagues I worked with very closely, most of my friends there had been working at IBM for a decade, right? So we all kind of worked together for 10, 15 years
Yeah.
on around the same technology, right? So it is
Got it.
very difficult to kind of let go of a team like that and move.
Yes. Yes.
But at that point, I felt that there was a good opportunity at Visa where they wanted to start something new, right?
Yeah.
Ground up. So it made sense for me to pick that up and try it out. Yeah, which turned out to be good in hindsight.
Perfect, perfect. So now, once you have introduced visa, right? Now we'll talk about your visa journey. Specifically, you moved to visa while the nation was in the lockdown, right?
Yeah,
The country was in lockdown. The things around were very, very uncertain, and you kind of were building a team over there.
yeah.
Now, my next question is how easy or difficult was it back then to build a team specifically of like-minded people who can aim and work towards a particular goal together, right? Yeah. So
Yeah. So I joined Visa like in March 2020, right?
yeah, yeah,
And I think after I went to office for a week, the lockdown started, right? So by practice, I didn't meet all of my team before it got locked down. So
got
uh,
it.
it was hard. And the charter for me in Visa was to build a database as a service and a low latency platform
Yeah,
right from scratch. So we had to hire people during the lockdown remotely, right?
hmm,
Which was a mix of junior engineers plus senior engineers, and we had to build out the new charter for the product, right, from ground up. It was essentially a 0 to 1 build, right? We had significant
got it.
challenges going through that. A couple of them were essentially more around um, people not being used to doing remote hiring and building the team remotely and working on stuff in that mode. Right.
Yeah,
I think over a period of time, maybe 6 months to 1 year, people got used to that. But when it originally started, it was very
yeah,
difficult. Right. Just to
yeah,
give an example, you had to, like, you're trying to build something from scratch. You would understand. You're at a startup, right?
yeah,
And you want to move things fast. You want to have the meetings, but people are struggling because the kids can't go to school. There
yeah,
is no childcare support available. There is no sick care
yeah,
support available. People are falling sick, right? I think the biggest learning for me in that period was as leaders, I think we need to build a lot of um, empathy and patience, right?
yeah,
I think in the in our daily grind to deliver products to ship things to market as soon as possible, we are sometimes forgetting that human touch, right? Everybody has a lot of challenges, particularly during that period. I
yeah,
think that helped me in good stead, where being patient, being empathetic with my team, right? Because eventually products, if you put enough focus and hard work into it, it'll get built, right? It'll
yeah,
ship a week late maybe, which is okay, right? but
yeah,
but
yeah,
I think it is very important to make sure everybody on the team is comfortable, happy, and at the end of the build, they all feel that um, they were part of it and they were
yeah.
really valued for and cared for.
Perfect, perfect. Yeah, absolutely agree with the empathy part, right? Lockdown actually taught us all to be very, very empathetic towards our coworkers,
Yeah,
towards our seniors who are probably putting in more effort on days when you're not there. And then it just taught us very well to function as a team, eventually, if we're not sitting right next to each other, right?
correct. I think
Though the days
things
were,
had become
yeah,
very mechanical right
yeah,
before that. I think that kind of gave everybody a reality check of, hey, there is a human touch to this, right? Yeah, there were kids screaming on the call. There were kids coming into the Zoom
yeah,
meetings. I
yeah,
mean, that's all part of family, right? That's how
yeah,
life is. Yeah.
yeah. Perfect, perfect. Now, tell me one thing. You've been in Bangalore all your life, and you've been kind of repulsive to moving away from Bangalore,
Mhm.
if I may say so.
Yeah.
Why, why is this a theory that is Bangalore lucky for you? Or what's the science behind it, if you might want to understand?
Yeah, then multiple aspects to it, right?
Yeah,
One of it is, of course, you're born and raised in a town. You have friends, you have social circle, right? All of
yeah,
that
yeah,
definitely has a pull, right?
yes,
Where you do think about those aspects when looking at opportunities outside. It's not that
yeah,
I did not come across opportunities outside Bangalore and outside India during these last 15 plus years, right? But it's
hmm,
always when you make that choice, it's always a trade-off between what are you giving up to see what you're gaining, right?
yes,
So I would say the three most important things would which made me stay in Bangalore was one is of course the social circle, the friend circle, family, and all of that, right? The second one is not particular to Bangalore, but in general to India. I feel that in the last decade or so, and I think it's going to remain for the next couple of decades. Um, Growth for people delivering things out of India is going to be much higher than from Western economies, right? Because
got
uh,
it.
I mean, it's eventually, if you think about it, whatever we do, it's all business, right? So if
Yeah,
the business is growing, people grow in their career, people grow in their learning, right? So given the fact that India is the largest and the fastest growing economy in this part of the world, right?
yeah,
And it's going to remain that way based on a lot of reports for the next couple of decades. So it makes sense to be in a place where there is a natural uplift to your career just because of the location and just because of the economy, right?
yeah,
To give you an example, I was there at IBM for 13 years, right? I started as
yeah,
a entry level graduate engineer, and when
yeah,
I left IBM, I was a senior software architect, right?
yeah,
Which I think has about six levels in between, right?
yeah,
Uh, so that kind of growth in a Western economy would be very, very difficult because neither the uh, company is growing at that pace in those locations, neither
yeah.
the economy is growing at that pace, right? So it makes sense. It made sense for me to align to the natural uplift that the growth that is happening in India, right?
Understood.
Uh, the third aspect was there were opportunities abroad in between during these periods, right? But from a quality of work point of view, it did not match what I had in hand, right?
Got it.
The work what I was doing versus the work what I was getting in some of the advanced economies was simply not comparable. So that is a very key factor for me because um, if you see most of us who are doing these critical roles, we spend close to 12 hours of our
Yeah,
life doing work, right? So it
yes,
is very important that we do something that we think is really meaningful and interesting, rather than doing something which is in some sense monotonous, but doing it in a already developed economy, right? So those are the key reasons why I kind of decided to build my career in Bangalore.
beautiful, beautiful. Because I think work for us is more self-satisfying rather than doing it for someone else. Because by the end of the day, what I believe is we all go to sleep, and if we are getting a peaceful sleep, we're doing something right,
Yeah.
right in our career. So peaceful sleep is a lot of for a lot of my friends is the particular goal in their life. They're chasing peaceful sleep, and
Mhm.
if they're getting a peaceful sleep, probably they're doing good work. Probably they are at the right place at
Yeah.
the right time. For example, you are in Bangalore with your folks around, right? Now, my next question is, as you said, right, there were multiple opportunities, but if you see, you are building from India and
Mhm.
for the world. And
Mhm.
this is something that we've been focusing on, builders of Bharat, right?
Yeah.
These guys are building from India, but for the world. So now let's touch base on what you're currently building at Couchbase, right?
Sure. So let me quickly introduce what Couchbase is to our listeners, right? I mean, not
Yes, yes,
everybody will be familiar. So
yeah,
Couchbase is essentially a cloud NoSQL database, right? It's a database that gets used for a lot of mission critical systems. If you ever did a card transaction, most likely you've been touched by Couchbase because most of world's fraud detection happens on Couchbase, right? For payments. If you've ever booked a flight, you highly likely been touched by Couchbase because I don't know, maybe 90% of airline booking software runs on Couchbase, right? People are not aware, but it is embedded in such mission critical systems, right? So the team in India is fairly mature and fairly big, right? We have about 120 engineers working on various aspects from development, QE, and support on Couchbase, and the team here works on pretty much the whole stack, right? If you see a database stack, it has a storage engine, it has indexing, it has a control plane, it has a SDK, right? It has multiple aspects. So the team in Bangalore works on all the layers of the stack,
okay,
right? We do a lot of new things here as well. Like in the last 1 year, we've built something called Couchbase Vector Search, which is a rage in the market now, right? So everybody wants to do vector search because with LLMs, you would like to do semantic search, right? So the core component of a semantic search is vector search. So we built that out of Bangalore. My team is launching another new product in a month or so, which is uh, an analytic database for NoSQL, right? So far historically, whoever has worked in the database field would know that mostly NoSQL databases were used for transactional systems, but we're launching a new product which is built ground up for analytics, right? So there is a lot of interesting work happening across the stack here, and I would say um, for Couchbase, right? It was
yeah,
true in some sense for IBM as well that uh, a big part of the product development
yeah,
is happening out of India, right? And these products are getting used by everybody across the world, right? If you, like I mentioned, right? I mean, of course, because of confidential reasons, we can't name the customers, but if you see most fraud transactions, fraud detection for card transactions, you can figure out who are the users of it,
yeah,
right? So
yeah,
so so
yeah.
this is not something which we are building just for India, just for any Asian economy. So what we are building is essentially getting used by all the largest of the companies across the world.
Now that you're at Couchbase, I just want to understand while hiring folks, right? While hiring engineers at Couchbase, while while hiring or while going through profiles, what is that one thing? And this might benefit our audience who's looking at you now talking about Couchbase. What is that one thing that you think is a must-have in a particular profile or in a particular candidate? Yeah, just throw some light on it.
Sure. For and this is not only for Couchbase. I do look at this. I was looking at it when I was
Yeah,
at
yeah,
Visa and at IBM as well. One of the things I think a lot of
yeah,
engineering leaders do this is look at people's open source contributions and Git profiles, right? I think we are in a world now where hiring is happening based on um, the work which you have done, which is available
yeah,
for people to see, right? I think in the earlier days, it was more
yeah,
focused on ability to solve lead code problems or ability to solve problems from some of the other competitive programming platforms. But I think that is
yeah,
kind of reducing now, where a lot of leaders are looking for people to showcase their work through their Git profiles or through other open source project contribution, because that kind of makes it more real in the sense that,
yeah.
hey, this engineer can build a real product and not just solve a hypothetical problem, right? So that is where I think if you ask me one key thing, what do I look at whenever I get a resume for hiring? I go see if they have a Git profile, if they have contributed anything to open source, right? What is the actual work that can be seen, right?
Understood. what is the real stuff that they're doing,
The
right?
real stuff, yes.
Yeah, perfect, perfect. Now we've spoken a lot about serious things. I'll just quickly take a break and come back to the fun side of this chat. It's a rapid fire round, and
Mhm.
all the Bangaloreans who are listening or who are tuned in, this is something that you will be looking forward to, because this is something more about Bangalore. So I'll just quickly throw questions, and you'll have to answer probably in one or two words, and we'll be very quick with this. Okay,
Hope it's not
so
controversial like
no, no,
coffee with Karan.
no, 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 no. It's fun. It's just based on your life. One favorite spot in Bangalore.
I would say there is a dosa place in Malleshwaram called CTR,
Okay.
which is very favorite. So for both me and my wife, we go there often. Uh,
Okay.
yeah.
Perfect. One thing you miss about your childhood.
Sorry,
One thing you miss about your childhood.
about my childhood. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me think. So, like I said earlier, right? I used to play a lot of sports in school. Uh,
Yeah.
Probably I would say maybe 4 hours of sports every day, like combining
Okay.
volleyball, badminton, little bit of cricket. Now I
Okay.
think I miss a big part of that. I do play badminton over the weekends, but it's not the same anymore given my hectic schedules and other responsibilities.
Okay. Any book or movie that left an impression on you?
Not much of a book reader. The only thing I read
Okay.
is technical papers. From a movie point of view, yeah, I watch movies mainly for entertainment. But one movie which was very entertaining, but which had a very good message, which I would like to share with our audience here, right?
Yeah.
Was a movie called Ford versus Ferrari. I don't know if people have heard about it. It's a movie
Yeah.
about two people, right? Carol Shelby and Ken Miles from the US, who team up with Ford to try to beat Ferrari at Le Mans race in France, right? It's a movie about that. And in the end of the movie, there is a part where um, Ken Miles actually loses the race because of certain corporate politics from Ford, right?
Yeah.
But the thing he says at that point is, uh, let's go back and make the car faster, right? So essentially, he's worried about enjoying that whole process of building that car and making it go faster than Ferrari. And he's not
Mm.
really bothered that he just lost the Le Mans race because of some politics, right? So this is a great message that don't really worry too much about the outcome, what you got out of something. Try to enjoy the process and enjoy the journey.
Perfect. Perfect. What's your go-to relaxation activity?
Playing badminton, going on beach trips with my family and friends.
Okay. And any best advice that you've received in your life?
Um, I think once I got told by a leader at IBM, I can't really recall when this was, but it was around this concept of building an emotional cache, right? So let me explain briefly what that is. So because
Yeah.
I don't think it's a standard terminology, right? It is essentially about treating everybody you work with, you interact with, your family members, your colleagues, other people you meet in office or anywhere, right? Treating them really well and going out of your way to help people out, right? Without expecting anything in return, right? What you're building through that process, if you do it for a long enough time, is something called an emotional cache, which basically you can encash when you are going through a low period, right? And to encash that, you don't need to do anything because you've treated people so well, you've really helped everybody out throughout your life. People are genuinely going to come to your rescue whenever you're going through a low period, right? So that was something somebody told me that, hey, and this was pretty early in my career, saying that, hey, you have a long journey and build this emotional cash with everybody you deal with, right? Yeah, and I found that very, very interesting. And yeah, I try to follow that.
That actually is very interesting. I'll take this back from our conversation. Now, coming back to our next question. As you said, you or leaders like you work or give 12 hours probably every day to work, right? So it's a very demanding career, right? And to balance a family life with this career is really tough. So
Yeah.
how do you balance both these things, and how do you keep yourself updated every day as the technology is changing really, really fast, right? Every day there's a new thing in the market, right? So how do you keep yourself up to date, and how do you maintain the family work life balance?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would say a couple of things, right?
yeah,
I think to for any tech executive to of course, the career is demanding, the job responsibilities are demanding, right? And particularly
yeah,
people will be will be in that point in their life where they have a family to take care of, mostly young children, right? So I think the most important thing is to find a support system, right? And when I
yeah,
say a support system, find people who can support you in this journey, right? And for
yeah,
me, I would say the most important person in that is my wife, right? Ramya. So she also works for one of the big four consulting companies. She has a very hectic job, but I think her support in maintaining this balance has been very critical, right? The second thing is you need to build a routine and have a discipline around that routine, right? So that is the only way you can manage a career like this, which is very demanding with a balanced family life, right? So in our case, we make sure that we don't take meetings between 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. We keep that as a dedicated family time. We have a fixed meal time for kids, bedtime for kids, right? So that way, we are able
yeah.
to manage both of us are managing our demanding careers as well as the family life. Coming to second part of your question around how do I cope up
Yeah,
with staying relevant
yeah,
with current technologies and the new trends, right? The way I see it
yeah,
is it is part of my job, right? As a technical leader, if I'm not
yeah,
staying current with the changes that are happening in the market and its technology and incorporate that into my team's work, I think I'm failing as
yeah,
a technology leader, right? So
yeah.
I don't keep that separate. So it becomes part of my work, and I need to find dedicated time as part of my work to keep myself relevant with the latest trends. Yeah.
Understood. Understood. Now, my next question would be slightly reflecting back. Like we all, whenever we reflect back in the past,
Yeah.
we think that okay, I could have done this thing differently. I could have taken that path, or I could have taken that road, right? So,
Yeah.
is there anything that you would do differently in your career or personal life if you look back?
Yeah. Um, yeah, I wouldn't say it as a different road. The way
Yeah,
I think about this is when I reflect back,
yeah,
probably in the early part of my career, I would say when I was like in the 1 to 5 year experience range, right? I think
yeah,
I did not voluntarily go after seeking newer opportunities, more additional responsibilities, right? I
okay,
did the job I got very well. I did it on time. I did it with quality, but I left it at that, right?
yeah,
I didn't go after asking for additional responsibilities or additional challenges, right? And I think at some point in my career, one of my mentors gave me a feedback that, hey, you're doing your current job really well. You should go look for and ask for additional responsibilities, right? And when I started doing that, I think that's when I feel that my career really took off. And I wish that I had gotten this advice sooner, and I could have done that in my early part of my career as well.
perfect. Uh, any advice that you give viewers or young professionals to have a fulfilling career in the tech industry? Are there any secrets that they should follow?
Yeah.
Is there a list or a pointer that they can probably stick around on their desk that this is the mantra and I can go there?
Mhm. So I would say a couple of things. The first thing is
Yeah,
identify an area that really interests you, right? Which is the key.
yeah,
So once you
yeah,
identify that, really invest time into it, right? Don't look for shortcuts, don't look for quick gains, build expertise, right? Do deep work. The reason this is
yeah,
more relevant today than what it was many years ago is because of the disruption being caused by AI, right? So if you're doing superficial work, right? If you're learning something, doing some work in that, just moving on to the next thing, right? So what's going to happen is all the superficial work over a period of probably a next decade or so is going to get automated via AI, right? So AI is will be able to do that because it's not really complex work. So only the work that is really complex is gonna kind of stay consistent or relevant, right? So if you want to build a tech career with a lot of longevity and I would say, how do I put this? I would say a high value tech career, right? Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, you
yeah,
can keep switching things, you can keep doing new things, there will be new technologies, but that doesn't become a high value tech career, right? If you want to do a high value tech career, um, do deep work, do build expertise in certain things where AI can't automate that work because it is simply too complex to be done by AI in the foreseeable future, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing I would say is this is a quote I read somewhere. Maybe it is it was told that it's Obama said this, but I don't know if he really said this or not, given all the fake stuff that comes on social media. But the quote is meaningful still, right?
yeah,
Um, Become that person who can really get the job done, right? If you look
yeah,
at any tech leaders or business leaders, they're always looking for people who can get the job done, right? There will be many problems. I don't think there is anything meaningful you will achieve without surmounting, overcoming a lot of problems, right? And some of the problems will be interesting to solve. Some of them will be mundane and boring to solve, right?
yeah,
But as a person, if you can become somebody who can really get the job done no matter what, I
yeah.
think you'll be highly valued in the industry because eventually all the leaders are looking for people like that.
Perfect. I think this
So,
will add a lot of value to everyone who's hearing this. And actually, it's so true, right? Deep work, if you're not going into the depth of something, you're probably touching base and AI will probably replace you. And then there'll be folks who will talk on the internet that AI is taking our jobs.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I completely get what you're trying to say. Now, just understanding your perspective or your view towards success, right? Everyone's definition of success is way too different. Some choose staying with their family as success, right? Because I have my pillars around. Some choose money as success. Now, what does success mean to you, both professionally and personally?
yeah. So
Yeah,
professionally, I would treat success as with three questions, right?
yeah,
Uh, am I building a product that we can make money out of, right? Eventually,
okay,
all of us are doing a business, right? So we
yeah,
are not into charity. So whatever we are building needs to make money or add value to the society in some way, right? There are
mhm,
products which will be sold and companies make money out of it. There will be
yeah,
products which will probably not make too much money, but they will be very meaningful to the society, right? So the first thing I would kind of categorize as uh, ask myself, right? Whatever I'm building in whichever company it is it meaningful to the society? Can it be made as a meaningful business, right? So I would, if the answer is yes, then I think I'm working towards success, right? The second
oh,
thing would be uh, in building that business or in building that product, is my team happy? Have I built the right culture in for my team, right? So if the answer to that is yes, then I would consider myself to be successful, right? Finally, I would say, is there massive learning for myself and my team in this whole exercise? Because eventually, as humans, I think we are more happy, we are more content when we are learning new things all the time, right? That's how we are
Yeah.
wired. The moment we
Yeah.
stop learning, we get bored, we get disgruntled, we become unhappy. So it is
Yeah.
very important for me to have my success criteria around: am I learning enough? Is my team learning enough? Right.
Yeah.
So professionally, I would put it as these 3 points. On a personal front, I would say, me and my wife, we have two small kids, right? They are 3 and 8.
Yeah.
So I would measure success as, are we raising them well enough to become
Yeah.
really good, educated um, citizens who can contribute to society, right? So that is one of the key success factors for me. The second
Yeah.
one, personally for me, would be, am I supporting my wife to grow in her career in the same way she supported me over all these years? I think that those two would be key criterias of success in my personal life.
Perfect. I think there's a lot of learning that's happening for us and for our audience also, side by side. And there's so much to take away from this session. Now I just throw the last question for this evening with you. If if you could share your one key winning both in your career and in life, what would it be?
I would say, anything you do, right? Whether it
Yeah.
is in
Yeah.
personal life, like a
Yeah.
relationship, or whether it is a project you're working on, or whether it is an exam you're giving, anything, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Once you commit to it, right, give
Yeah.
your full 100%, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Always give your maximum possible to that endeavor, because if you're not doing that, then the result is always going to be mediocre, right?
Yes.
So I'm
Yes.
not saying that if you give your 100%, if you go all out on those initiatives, that it's going to be a
Yeah.
success. But
Yeah.
at least you will have the satisfaction that you gave your best, right?
Yeah.
You did your best. There are a lot of cases where there are external factors which may derail the outcome, right? But at
Yeah.
least
Yeah.
from your personal point of view, you will be happy that you gave your best, and yeah, and in most cases, it will lead to success.
Got it. Got it. Thank you so much. Thank you, Santosh. It was a session that I can probably not sum it up in a few words, but if I had to uh, talk about the few learnings that I'm gonna take away from this session, a few of them will be emotional cash, obviously, because this is something that will stay with me now, as it had stayed with you once you got to know about it from your mentor. The second thing that I'll be taking from our conversation is obviously being empathetic, how important it is today and forever. This is something that we will have to understand, that if a product can be made today, it can be made a week later also, but being empathetic is very, very important. And the third thing, uh, that you said, choosing people and finding a very strong support system, right? Because by the end of it, work and everything will go on, but your support system is what you will bank on the bad days, right? Thank you so much for this session, and thank you so much for your journey. uh, i I just be obliged that I got an opportunity to host this session. And yeah, we're all very, very grateful from the community rebase. We just want to thank you for the session. Yeah. And anyone watching this session, any questions, any queries that you have, do drop it down in the comments. We'll surely share it with Santosh and we'll get his response for you guys. And don't forget to like this particular video, to share this video, and join the community. Thank you so much, guys. I hope this had been an insightful evening. And cheers.
Thank you for all the
Thank
listeners.
you.